Hello, everyone. My name is Sarafi, and I'm happy to meet you all. And today, I'll be spotlighting the Idaten the Conqueror Star deck. And before I go over the skill, let's go over the main deck and the extra deck so that you can understand what the skill is for. Our ace monster is Idaten the Conqueror Star, a level 10 warrior monster with 3,000 attack points that can be fused with any two level 5 or higher warrior type monsters. If this card is fusion summoned, you can add one level 5 warrior type monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, you can discard any number of cards. This card gains 200 attack for each card discarded. And then once per battle, during damage calculation, if this card battles with a monster with an equal or lower level, you can make that opponent's monster's attack 0 during damage calculation. Once per battle, not once per turn. We are running 3 copies of Idaten because, as you will see, we're going to need them. We also have Super Quantal Mech Beast Magna Liger. This is a rank 5 monster, and it requires 2 level 5 monsters. It can't attack unless it has Xyz material, but once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, target 1 monster on the field, and destroy it. It's a quick effect if you have Super Quantum Red Layer as material. So, this is pretty good. It allows you to get some interruption in on your opponent's turn, as long as we have our Super Quant Red. Then we have Adrius, Keeper of Armageddon. This is a rank 5 that requires 2 level 5 monsters. 2,600 attack points once per turn. You can attach 1 Xyz material from this card, target 1 face-up card your opponent controls, and destroy it. Simple, sweet, and to the point. For our opponent's spells and traps, we have Wind Up Arsenal Zen Mayo. Also requires 2 level 5 monsters, also has 2,600 attack points. Once per turn, you can attach 1 Xyz material from this card to target 2 set cards on the field and destroy them. Not up to 2. 2. You have to have 2 targets to use this effect. But it will get rid of all your opponent's back row. Pretty nice. Then lastly, we have Digvorzak, King of Heavy Industry. This card is broken. Requires 3 level 5 monsters. Once per turn, you can attach 1 Xyz material from this card. Send the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. Then if any of those were monsters, destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of monsters sent. So as long as your opponent mills 2 monsters, you pop 2 cards on their field for free. Insane card, very difficult to summon for most decks. This deck is designed to summon it, so we'll see how that goes. Now for the main deck, we have Dogaran the Mad Flame Kaiju. It's a Kaiju. Tribute your opponent's monster to special summon it to their field in attack position. You might think, that is 3,000 attack points. How am I going to get rid of that? It does have 3,000 attack points, but its level is 8. So Idaten says it has 0 attack points. So this gets rid of all your opponent's pesky monster effects and leaves them with a 0 attack monster in attack position on the field for you to run over. Next up, we have Super Quantum Red Layer. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a Super Quant monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but it cannot activate its effects, which you can usually use on Magna Liger if Magna Liger was destroyed while Quantum Red Layer was its material. That's an okay effect. It floats into a body that essentially protects you, but the monster is not a warrior. It's not level 5. You can't use it for Xyz material. It's basically just there, and it can't attack, so it's basically just there as like a blocker. Now we get to the good stuff. Kaiju the Unity Star. Level 5 warrior with 1,000 attack and 2,100 defense. If this card is special summon, you can pay 500 life points, fusion summon 1 warrior type monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials. And during your opponent's turn, if this card is in your graveyard and you control a level 5 or higher warrior monster whose current attack is different from its original attack, you can special summon this card, which triggers its effect to fuse. Fantastic. This is how we make multiple copies of Idaten at the same time. This card is amazing. Next up, we have Hayate the Earth Star. If only your opponent controls a monster, or if you control a light monster, you can normal summon this card without tributing. If this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 level 5 light warrior monster from your hand, which will usually be your Kaiju the Unity Star, which triggers its effect to fusion summon. Once per turn, when your warrior monster is targeted for an attack, you can make this card lose exactly 500 attack, and if you do, negate the attack. That does technically activate Kaiki's effect, where the monster's attack is different than the attack on the field, but Hayate is either going to be used as fusion material or Xyz material. It's not going to be on your field during your opponent's turn. Rounding out our monsters, we have Overlay Booster. If you control a monster with 2,000 or more attack, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. During your turn, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Target one face-up Xyz monster you control that has Xyz material. It gains 500 attack for each Xyz material attached to it. This is a pretty interesting effect, but mostly we just use this because when we summon Idaten, we get to draw a warrior monster, and this one just immediately comes out to the field, so it's a pretty good setup for Xyz. Obviously, we're running 3 copies of Polymerization. You might think, but Hayate and Kaiki can already fuse. That's true. But for that to work, Hayate and Kaiki have to hit the field. Polymerization allows us to fuse from hand, which is very, very beneficial. Never discount the ability to fuse from hand. Then we're running 1 Roaring Point and 3 Compulses just to kind of keep people at bay. Now as for the skill, Fields of the Warriors. Begin the duel with the field spell Sogen activated. And what does Sogen do? It increases the attack and defense of all Beast Warrior and Warrior monsters by 200 points. Why is that good? Well, in order for Kaiki's effect to activate, they expect us to discard a card with Idaten to try and raise its attack points by 200, or use Hayate's effect to stop an attack and then special summon afterwards. These are both terrible. I don't want to go minus for a special summon, and I certainly don't want to wait until the battle phase has started to start fusing my monster that needs to win battles. So instead, we use the skill, and then all of our monsters just gain 200 attack points all the time. So they're always targets for Kaiki. It's fantastic. And now you know how the deck plays. Let's take a look at the replay. Going second against Red Eyes, which is doing quite well, honestly. Opponent Red Eyes Insights then plays Piercing the Darkness and Red Eyes Fusion to fusion summon their Black Comet Dragon. Then they mill another Red Eyes, and they activate the skill to set Return of the Red Eyes, but they have to return a card from their deck to their hand. Then they activate Return of the Red Eyes. I guess they thought that they could use the effect to special summon on their turn, forgetting that Red Eyes Fusion stops them from doing it. So they don't set the Red Eyes Fang with Chain. But in honesty, they use Return of the Red Eyes a lot this duel, so I think it was probably worth it for them. Anyway, my turn. I special summon Super Quantum Red Layer because I can, but then I forget that I can't normal summon Hayate anymore, so I have to tribute it. Our opponent is going to use Return of the Red Eyes right now. Go ahead and special summon Red Eyes Black Dragon, and then draw a card with Piercing the Darkness. We tribute, normal summon, special summon Kaiki, pay 500 life points, and go into our Idaten the Conqueror Star. Idaten's effect draws us another Hayate. We'll set 2, and we will attack the Meteor Black Comet Dragon, and then our opponent does not activate Piercing the Darkness, but regardless, we activate Idaten's effect, and even though the opponent's monster had 3,500 attack points, it's destroyed and he takes 3,200 points of damage. That's not what he was expecting. He activates the effect to revive his Red Eyes, and then he goes into his Red Eyes Shadow Flare Dragon. Or Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. And at this point, I use Compulse right away, forgetting that it's a quick effect to revive the Red Eyes. Then he just goes into it again with his Trap to revive. It's unfortunate. And then he just revives the Red Eyes again. He ends his turn here, so I go ahead and I use Kaiki's effect right now, which I can do because Idaten has 200 more attack points than it should, thanks to my skill. And I also compulse the Flare Metal Dragon because it's already used its effect this turn, and I don't want my opponent to draw more cards off of Piercing the Darkness. So his monster goes back. He has his 2 other Red Eyes in the graveyard again, but now I can fuse with the card in my hand that I drew off of Idaten earlier. And I get a second Idaten the Conqueror Star. And now I get to draw a level 5 warrior. So I'm going to go ahead and draw Hayate because I can normal summon Hayate without tributing while I have Idaten out. And Hayate will let me special summon basically any other card in my deck, so I'm praying that I draw the right card. Okay, I drew Overlay Booster. That's perfect. So I normal summon Hayate, and I get to special summon Overlay Booster. My opponent is going to fire off Red Eyes Fang with Chain, which is fine. He can have one of my Idatens. I'll just beat over him with the other one. But I'm going to go ahead and Xyz into Adria so that I can destroy this Red Eyes. My opponent is going to immediately fire off the trap card to take Adrius, and then I enter the battle phase. I declare an attack on his monster. Now, Piercing the Darkness says when an attack is declared, you can have the monster gain attack points. So this happens during the declare attacker step, which is fine. His monster goes up to 5,800 attack points. But then the damage calculation happens. So my monster's effect activates second, cuts his monster's attack points down to 0, and he loses the game. There you go. If your opponent's not playing Xyzes or Lynx, then their Synchro, Fusion, Ritual, and normal monsters are just going to fall before Idaten's power. That's what it means to be a Conqueror Star. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have you all with me.